Our first guest tonight is a talented actor you know from the Magic Mike franchise, as well as shows like True Blood. You can see him in Metal Lords, which premieres this Friday on Netflix. Let's take a look.
Drugs, weed, coke,
No.
meth,
No.
H,
No.
acid,
No.
Molly,
No.
you vaping,
No.
self-harm,
No.
sleep too much,
No.
too little,
No.
suicidal ideation. Did you destroy any property?
Not that they know about.
What then?
Just metal, man.
Please welcome back to the show, Joe Manganiello, everybody. Great to have you back.
Nice to be back. Thank you.
I want to talk about the film, but I always like connecting with you over our love of Pittsburgh sports.
Yeah.
You were throwing out the first pitch.
Opening day, 412. The area code in Pittsburgh is 412.
Yep.
So on 412 at 4:12 in the afternoon, I'm going to throw the first pitch.
This is very exciting. Have you
Very
thrown out a first pitch before?
No, I've been invited a bunch of times. I was also invited by the Dodgers.
Okay.
Listen, I told them I have to throw the first pitch for the Pirates.
That's good. Well, and I think that those are the opposite ends of the spectrum as far as what kind of season they're expecting, the Dodgers and the Pirates.
Salary cap, yes,
Yeah,
of course.
it's very
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
That
yeah.
really speaks to your loyalty. This is a great sacrifice to the quality of play that you might expect to see on opening day.
I am a good sport. It's
Yeah.
going to be written on my gravestone.
Did
Yeah.
you? I know you played a lot of sports growing up. Did you play baseball?
I did when I was younger, until I got hit in the face with a baseball bat.
Now, it's interesting because that doesn't happen that often. Either the guy with the bat or the guy with the face is doing something wrong.
You know, when you're a kid, what's the number one thing? Don't swing a bat when anyone's around you.
That's true. That's what they
What
tell
did
you.
the kid do? Bang, and my front teeth blasted out.
Really?
So this is actually a bridge I have in right now because after 36 years, we had to go in, clear out what was left of those broken teeth.
Wow.
And drill screws into my jawline to put the.
Do you think that kid has any understanding as an adult now of whose mouth he with?
And it wasn't cheap, all this dental work.
No, I would imagine.
So it's been a lifetime of that. But there was a silver lining when I was in drama school, end of freshman year. They gave me this scene of this character who played Frankenstein on stage and complained about having this chipped tooth, and he had syphilis and was crazy, as you do in drama school. And so I just got a loaf of French bread and worked the front tooth out, and one of them.
Wow.
And I thought, well, he's Frankenstein, he's an animated corpse, so I just shaved my head bald.
Yeah.
But I didn't tell my scene partner, which in hindsight, I probably should have said, hey,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do this big radical physical transformation for the role. And so, I'm standing backstage, she's delivering a monologue. That morning I wore a ski hat and super polygripped my tooth in, so nobody knew during morning yoga warm-ups, no one had any idea. And then she had this beautiful monologue, and then I walk out on stage with this tooth gone and the bald head, and she went up on her lines and,
Wow.
and forgot her lines.
Yeah. Rightfully
And-
so.
They tried to, they were like talking about throwing me out of school. They were like,
Yeah.
grow your hair back, put your tooth back in, come back next year, stop it, stop it.
And I do feel like the acting teacher has to address the class and be like, we don't feel like any of you should ever feel the need to remove a tooth.
Stop ripping your teeth out, yeah.
One last thing before we move to the movie, you are doing an audible, you're doing the voice, you're the narrator is the correct way to describe this, about Sidney Crosby, the great Pittsburgh Penguin, about his rookie season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I would imagine you've met Sidney over the years?
Yeah. We've become friends over the years. So becoming friends with Sid and then being selected to narrate the story of his rookie season was such an honor. And I hosted the NHL awards and
That's cool.
at one point. So
it's really nice. When they know that you respect what they do, it makes it a lot easier too.
I love them. I love Pittsburgh. So
That's great. Yeah. This is this film is a lovely film about this group of teenagers who is into metal, and that's a scene where you realize that a lot of people get worried when kids are into metal, but it's also a wonderful community, and I think that sometimes adults overreact to it. Were you into metal as a kid?
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there, when I grew up, I mean, it was, Satan is going to come for you.
Yeah.
And, Even though, like, you know, Ozzy was accused of being a Satanist, but it was like all of his songs are about running away from Satan. So, I mean, well, then you get Slayer, but that's a whole other, whole other thing. But yeah, I was. You know, my father had a great record collection, so I think it probably started out with like Zeppelin, Doors, and then I got into like Sabbath. My first concert was Pantera, Sepultura, Biohazard. Am I speaking a foreign language or? Okay, yeah, cool.
So your wife, Sofia Vergara, does she care about metal at all?
No.
Yeah.
No. When I go down, I have a home gym that I built, and when I go and work out, I'll, you know, put on some metal, aggressive music, and I'll come upstairs, and she'll just have this look on her face like, did you put on the devil music again? So she's on board with the whole Satan thing, I guess, too. She thinks that, you know, Satan's coming for me when I work out.
We've talked about, you mentioned you built a gym. We've talked about the other room in your house that is, you know, well-known in LA circles and in D&D circles. This is a true thing. You host a D&D night in Los Angeles, and you have a room for it, right?
I do. It shares a wall with the gym, which is probably a good microcosm of my whole personality, I think. You know, there's this gym and Olympic lifting going on, and then the other side of the wall, it's like, it's Dungeons & Dragons. I have a dungeon that I built.
It's a very funny thing to think about reselling one day and having a real estate agent be like, and then this is a D&D/gym.
Yeah. Well, when people, because so, you know, we are, you know, when people came to look at the house, I did think, I hope that the realtor said something appropriate, you know, about why this is in the basement. But, you know, it's really, it's something I grew up with. It was a real fountainhead of creativity for me. People ask me all the time, who was I in high school? And I was, you know, I was a 3-sport captain who was on the honor roll. I was in AP Physics. But I also ran these games for my friends. And it became kind of like I started making my own films and producing and directing and writing and starring in my own movies with all my friends. And that was how I started acting, writing, producing.
From doing like D&D inspired, that's amazing.
It was like running my own show every day during the summer for my friends who got to play characters in them.
So this is really cool. D.B. Weiss, who was one of the co-creators with David Benioff of Game of Thrones, he wrote the metal film that you're in.
Metallurgy.
And he asked to join your game.
Sort of. Well, so Tom Morello, Guitar God, Rage Against the Machine, he did all the music for Metal Lords.
Yeah.
Tom was in my group first.
Got it.
Because I had heard that Tom played when he was a kid, and I said, I play as an adult. It's a whole different thing. You got to come over. So he came and played, and the group was really big. And
what's big? What's a
big was like we were around like 7, 8-ish.
Okay, gotcha.
You know, you want to try to keep it around 4 to 6, but we were getting into 7, we were getting into 8, and Tom said, "Hey, there's this guy in my kid's carpool. He wants to play."
Yeah.
I said, "Nah, the group's kind of big. We're ballooning. I just want to keep it intimate, you know." And he said he created Game of Thrones, and I went, "Oh, Dan or Dave?" He said, "Dan." I got, "Yeah, he can play." And then Dan came and played, and then he was texting, which you don't do while the dungeon master is working.
Right, of course.
And so he's texting, and I'm like, dude, what's up? You know? And he's like, no, it's Dave. He wants to know how many hit points the dragon has. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you. You have to kill it, then I'll tell you. And he said, he said he's going to divorce me as a creative partner unless I get him into your game. Can he come next week? And I said, all right, sure.
So you made an exception. Now, is it higher stakes for you as a dungeon master when you, because you're running the show, right? Every week.
Yeah, I'm like Dan and Dave.
For Game of Thrones,
But yeah, my.
And how do they, I'm wondering, one, what's the stress like for you with them there? And two, are they just so relieved not to be in charge and get to just be playing?
I think the latter.
Yeah.
Because they've said it. Dan has said it a lot that you know he would live for the game, and if he had to miss a game, he like for a wedding, he's texting trying to find out what's going on, and everyone's like, Dan, we're facing incredible odds, and blah 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 blah. So, but yeah, he's. I think that it became this kind of fun thing where they didn't have to run the show; they could just be actors in the show that I was running.
It's about time. They deserve it. After everything they gave us, they deserve that. So thank you for being the one.
And
who
I
gives
actually
it to them.
used their dragons against them. I found the figurines. Like my nephew gave me, my nephew Rafa gave me a bunch of dragons that were Game of Thrones dragons, so I would like use them and try to kill them.
I love it. Turnabout is fair play.
Yes.
Yeah. I know that you're incredibly proud of the work you've done over the years, but we also did some digging and saw that you were in a telenovela, but an American telenovela, right? Okay. What was the name of it?
Oh, boy. It was called American Heiress.
Okay.
So Rupert Murdoch bought all of the telenovelas from Latin America and had them translated. Not written, just
Like Google Translate.
translate.
Yeah.
Like, you know, how is your sister's love interest? You know, you're like, you mean boyfriend?
Yeah.
You know, and so there were all these like fights that happened on set. There was no showrunner. So it was like Lord of the Flies. We were all at each other's throats arguing over what we're gonna shoot.
But you shot a lot, right? Because it's like soap opera schedule.
Yeah, we shot like 55 pages a day, which for example, like True Blood would shoot like 5 or 6.
Wow.
Okay, so they would do everything from one side thinking they were saving time. So you would shoot 16 scenes from 11 different episodes from the entire run of 65 one way.
So if your character was in a kitchen, every time he was in a kitchen for the whole season, you would shoot in one day.
You'd shoot it, yeah, and then you would turn around at lunch to go the other way and get their coverage. So it was insane. And then, like, for example, if you were walking down a hallway and then you open the door and you walk into a room and say something, they would film the hallway 2 months before the room you walked into. So I kind of had an idea that they were never going to run these episodes.
They were never going to be on TV.
Yeah, I got a strong inkling, and so I just tried to keep myself sane. And I would like go to the movie theater and give like a PA like my number and just be like, just hit me if you need me back. I'll be right down the street at the movie theater. And then I went, knowing that there's a hallway scene, and then I opened the door to the room. We're gonna film it 2 months later. I started heavily tanning.
Okay.
In those 2 months. And started avoiding my haircuts on Friday and kind of wasn't shaving as much leading up in that week. And so what you got, which no one saw, was me walking down a hallway, pasty, clean shaven,
Yeah.
you know, like very bright white, you know, and I opened the door and it's like, super tan, shaggy hair. Hey, close the door and go right back down the hallway.
See, now I think people would have watched that show. I think you're selling it short. Yeah.
You know, I mean, I tried to make it interesting if they were ever going to make all those episodes.
Well, I'm
available.
sorry we didn't get a chance to see that, but of course, it's always great to see you here. Thank you so much, Joe. It's
Thanks,
always such a
man.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Joe Manganiello, everybody, Metal Lords, premieres on Netflix this Friday.